The story begins with a prison located on a deserted island. Inside this prison, new inmates were being brought in today, including one named Edmund. Upon meeting the warden, Edmund pleaded, "Sir, please help. I haven't done anything wrong. I've been sent here on false charges." The warden replied calmly, "I know. If you had done something, you would have been thrown into a prison within the country. People are only sent here to this remote prison when there is a conspiracy against them." After this, the warden brutally beat Edmund and locked him in a cell that had a wooden door and a small window. This door only opened once a year when the warden would enter, just to beat the prisoners without reason. Time passed, and Edmund, confined alone in his cell, became increasingly distressed. He carved into the wall, "God, grant me justice." But as the years went by, his faith in God diminished. By the time he had spent 12 years in the prison, he had lost all hope, believing he would spend the rest of his life locked away. Then, one day, something extraordinary happened. The floor of his cell began to lift from below. This strange incident left Edmund in shock, and he thought a ghost had appeared before him. After a few moments of fear, Edmund saw that a man was emerging from beneath the floor. The man was another prisoner, named Abe, who had been digging a tunnel for 5 years from the cell below. By a twist of fate, the tunnel led directly into Edmund's cell, as if by divine intervention. With Abe's arrival, Edmund finally had someone to talk to, alleviating the madness brought on by years of solitary confinement. Abe enthusiastically invited Edmund to his cell, and Edmund, delighted, followed. He was astonished by what he saw. Unlike other cells, Abe's was like a modest hotel room. It had chairs for comfort and shelves filled with numerous books. Abe made a promise to Edmund. If he helped with the digging, Abe would teach him during their free time. Edmund, who had nothing better to do, immediately agreed. As they were about to start digging, they heard the footsteps of a guard. Terrified, Edmund quickly returned to his cell and prepared a trash bin to make it seem like he had been tidying up as the guard was about to arrive on their floor. In this prison, the cell doors opened only twice a day, once for trash collection and once for dinner. This meant the rest of the day was free for them to dig without fear of being caught. After this, Abe cut a small tuft of his hair, struck a spark with a stone, and used the burning hair to light a makeshift candle. Together, they squeezed into the tunnel and resumed digging. The space in the tunnel was very cramped, making the work extremely difficult. Abe estimated that, at their current pace, it would take at least 3 more years to dig their way out to freedom. One day, while resting, Edmund discovered from one of Abe's books that Abe was once a skilled swordsman and soldier. Edmund became adamant that Abe teach him swordsmanship, threatening to stop digging if he refused. Edmund's sole focus in life now was to seek revenge on his enemies. Hearing this, Abe agreed to teach him the art of combat. Abe began by explaining that speed is a warrior's greatest strength. He demonstrated a technique using water droplets falling from the ceiling, swiftly passing his hand through the stream without getting wet. "The day your hands become this fast," Abe said, "you will become a capable warrior." Afterward, Abe returned to digging, while Edmund dedicated himself to practicing. A few days later, Abe broke some wooden planks from the door to craft a makeshift sword and began teaching Edmund proper sword fighting techniques. Once their training sessions ended, Edmund would focus on his studies. His days were now entirely occupied with studying, digging, and practicing swordsmanship. Within months, Edmund's sword-fighting skills improved drastically, and Abe could see that Edmund had surpassed even him. One evening, during a conversation, Edmund learned that Abe had once worked for a wealthy family called the Stedius. His employer had amassed great wealth, and Napoleon had imprisoned Abe to extract information about the treasure. This enraged Edmund, as he too had been imprisoned due to Napoleon's betrayal. Day by day, their tunnel brought them closer to freedom. One day, they noticed plant roots in the ground, which Abe took as a sign that they were nearing the surface. The discovery filled them with joy, but their happiness was short-lived. Suddenly, the tunnel began to shake violently, and a loud noise followed as rocks and soil collapsed on top of them, burying Abe under the debris. Panicked, Edmund quickly removed the stones and pulled Abe out. Unfortunately, a heavy rock had fallen on Abe's chest, leaving him gravely injured with damage to his lungs. Knowing his end was near, Abe, with a weak voice, told Edmund about a book hidden beneath a stone in his cell. Beneath that book lay a secret treasure map. Edmund retrieved the map and was stunned to see it. In his final moments, Abe made Edmund promise to use the wealth for good, stay away from evil. Edmund vowed, and moments later, Abe passed away. Tears filled Edmund's eyes as he felt the weight of loneliness return. Just then, the guard arrived with dinner. Edmund hid behind the wall, and when the guard called out with no response, he entered the cell and, seeing Abe's lifeless body, ran off to report it to his superiors. Quickly, Edmund concealed the tunnel's entrance and waited. A short while later, the guard returned with others and placed Abe's body in a sack. Edmund, hiding in the tunnel, waited for them to leave. Once they were gone, Edmund sneaked back into the cell and, staring at Abe's body, came up up with an idea. He switched places with Abe's corpse in the sack. When the warden arrived with his men to dispose of the body, they decided to throw it into the sea since the prison was on a deserted island. During this time, a guard went to Edmund's room with food, but after repeatedly knocking on the door with no response, the guard became suspicious. He opened the door and went inside, but instead of finding Edmund, he discovered the lifeless body of Abe. The guard ran out, shouting for the warden. The warden wanted to handle the matter quickly, as stormy winds were blowing outside and the sea waves were crashing against the rocks, making it hard to hear anything. While the warden tried to understand what the guard was saying, Edmund suddenly snatched the keys from the warden. In the commotion, both Edmund and the warden fell straight into the sea. As soon as they hit the water, Edmund quickly freed himself with the stolen keys. Swimming to the surface, he turned back and saw the warden. Years of pent-up rage overtook him, and Edmund mercilessly drowned the warden. Without looking back, Edmund swam far into the sea. The next morning, when Edmund woke up, he found himself on an island. He couldn't comprehend how he had survived to reach there, but he was still not free. A group of pirates was lounging nearby, watching him. Edmund thought he was about to be killed, but the leader of the pirates, Luigi, gave him a chance. Luigi said he would spare Edmund's life on one condition. Edmund would have to fight their traitorous comrade, Jacopo, who they planned to bury alive anyway. If Jacopo won, he would rejoin the team, and they would kill Edmund. But if Edmund won, they would let him go. The fight between Edmund and Jacopo began soon. Jacopo was an expert swordsman, but Edmund's training with Abe proved to be extraordinary. No matter how many attacks Jacopo made, he couldn't even touch Edmund. Seizing the opportunity, Edmund struck swiftly and brought Jacopo to the ground. However, instead of killing him, Edmund turned to Luigi and said, "Look, we both can work for you. We're capable men. Why waste us? Finding loyal pirates isn't easy, is it?" Impressed by Edmund's skill and mercy, Luigi spared both their lives. During a conversation on the ship, Edmund told the captain his entire story. After hearing it, the captain decided to set Edmund free so that he could fulfill his mission of revenge. Jacopo, whose life Edmund had saved, promised to remain loyal to him forever. Edmund instructed Jacopo to arrange for a boat while he attended to some personal matters. Late at night, Edmund sneaked into his former employer's house, but everything had changed. The old owner didn't even recognize him. Edmund learned that his father had passed away, devastated by the grief of Edmund's imprisonment. This news deeply shattered him, but the biggest blow came when he discovered that it was his old friend, Mondego, who had betrayed him. Mondego had even taken Edmund's fiancée for himself. Determined, Edmund turned to the treasure Abe had mentioned. He and Jacopo searched every inch of the island, but couldn't find the treasure. Then Edmund thought of searching underwater. Diving into an underground pond mentioned in the map, he discovered several ancient chests. Opening one of them, he found glittering gold. Jacopo was overjoyed and loaded as much gold as he could onto their boat. However, transporting the entire treasure required a bigger ship. Edmund, though, cared less about the treasure and more about his thirst for revenge. He decided that this wealth would serve only one purpose, paving the path for his vengeance. Edmund purchased a luxurious mansion and reintroduced himself as a wealthy French noble. He invited other elites to his grand parties. His extravagant gatherings and regal demeanor quickly made him popular among the aristocracy. But Edmund's real aim was to grab Mondego's attention. When Mondego attended one of these parties, he left without speaking to Edmund, failing to recognize him. Edmund's former fiancée, Mercedes, had married Mondego. Determined to make her regret her choices, Edmund orchestrated an elaborate plan. He learned from Jacopo that Mondego had a son named Albert. Edmund staged Albert's fake kidnapping with the help of a beautiful woman and his pirate friends. Later, Edmund himself appeared as Albert's savior, rescuing him. Grateful, Albert invited Edmund to his upcoming birthday party. Edmund, after feigning reluctance, agreed to attend. At the party, Albert introduced Edmund to his father, Mondego. After 13 years, Edmund and Mondego stood face to face, though Mondego failed to recognize him. However, Villefort, a corrupt magistrate with control over the local police, was also in attendance. Villefort and Mondego devised a plan to ambush Edmund and steal his treasure. They enlisted the help of a third man, Danglars. Unbeknownst to them, these were the same 3 men responsible for Edmund's imprisonment years ago. Edmund had deliberately brought them together. After the party, Mondego admitted he had betrayed Edmund, claiming Edmund had been executed. Edmund feared this revelation might jeopardize his revenge plan, so he remained quiet for the time being. But soon, Edmund cornered Danglars and hung him, revealing his true identity before killing him. Next, Edmund targeted Magistrate Villefort, the man who had orchestrated his imprisonment imprisonment over a letter from Napoleon. Villefort had even betrayed his own father, a supporter of Napoleon, to gain power and pinned the blame on Edmund. Edmund cleverly manipulated Villefort into confessing everything, and hidden policemen overheard the confession. Villefort was arrested on the spot. Meanwhile, a now destitute Mondego tried to flee. He rushed to the fortress where he had hidden the stolen treasure, only to find the chests filled with sand. The only item inside was a small chess piece that Mondego himself had given Edmund long ago. Realizing the truth, Mondego was enraged. Edmund confronted him, and Mondego, consumed with fury, attacked with a sword. But he was no match for Edmund. Edmund easily disarmed him and pinned him against the wall. Just as Edmund was about to deliver the final blow, Albert stepped in, refusing to let his father die like this. Taking advantage of the distraction, Mondego loaded his gun with bullets and aimed at Edmund. However, when Mondego launched a powerful attack on horseback, Edmund's sword fell. Mondego seemed to have the upper hand, but Edmund ultimately overpowered him and delivered a fatal strike. Mondego died on the spot. With his thirst for revenge finally quenched, Edmund reunited with Mercedes. But his experiences had changed him. He pledged to use the remaining treasure for good, ensuring no one else had to endure the same suffering he had faced. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.